Celebrating Reconciling in Christ Sunday. And I just want to start by giving a little bit of background how we got to this. As you all know, St. Stephen's Constitution requires us to have an annual meeting every year in January at a time determined by the Congregation Council. Historically, we choose the last Sunday of January for the most pragmatic of reasons. Our finance team needs the first 2 weeks of the month to close the books. The other piece that leads into where we're going with this Reconciling in Christ Sunday is that since 1974, Reconciling Works has been an advocate for full participation of LGBTQ persons in the Lutheran Church. Historically, Reconciling Works has designated the last Sunday of January as Reconciling in Christ Sunday, a day to recognize and celebrate congregations and ministries that publicly extend a welcome to people of all sexual orientations and gender identities as part of their gospel mission. Reconciling in Christ congregations are encouraged to choose a day that is meaningful to them on which to celebrate. We became a Reconciling in Christ congregation 4 years ago on January 26, 2014, the last Sunday of the month of January. So it seems appropriate that the last Sunday of January marks the anniversary of our adoption of our inclusive welcome statement, which you have seen in many places and which reads, Christ says, I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. And that comes from John 13. At St. Stephen's Lutheran Church, we recognize the need to proclaim openly that the gospel is God's gift to all people to be shared unconditionally. As a community aspiring to be a spiritual home for all God's people, we welcome all persons without exception, without regard for age, race, gender identity, sexual orientation, financial or family status, physical or mental abilities, or any other human distinction used to discriminate and exclude. St. Stephen's Lutheran Church, ELCA, is a Reconciling in Christ congregation that welcomes diversity, which enriches, nurtures, and challenges our life and ministry. And of course, then we will invite others to come and join us as we know, live, and share Christ together in love. That welcome statement is printed in every one of our bulletins, and it appears on our What's Happening slides. It's on our webpage. It's a description of who we are. And what I want to remind us about is that in many ways, this welcome statement was not a radical departure from business as usual here at St. Stephen's. This congregation has historically welcomed diversity in its midst. Refugees from Eritrea, orphans from Haiti and Asia, immigrants and children of immigrants, African Americans, Native Americans, biracial persons and couples, LGBT singles and same-gender couples have historically found a spiritual home here long before 2014. Add to that the fact that this congregation has historically and insistently practiced open communion, welcoming all persons without exception to the Lord's table to receive the sacrament of Holy Communion. The welcome statement made those two facts public and official and empowered us to expand our Eucharistic hospitality to full participation for all persons in all aspects of our life together. So consequently, we adopted a wedding policy that empowers the pastors of this congregation to preside at same-gender weddings, and I have officiated at 2 same-gender weddings in the last 4 years. And we now have on staff a person who is in a same-gender wedding, our very dear Mark of the 2 hats, youth and young adult minister and communications coordinator, whose husband Paul sings in our choir and serves as our treasurer. Our welcome statement is not however, limited to empowering our LGBTQ brothers and sisters. In our welcome statement, we have committed ourselves to welcoming into the center of this community of faith all persons without exception, children and seniors, college students and young professionals, married and divorced persons, single parents and their children, persons from every continent on this globe, those who are financially well off and those who struggle from paycheck to paycheck, those who are fit as a fiddle and those who struggle with physical, mental, or emotional disabilities, regardless of ethnic backgrounds or political persuasions. Our welcome statement also helps us think about how we do mission and ministry. You all know that Tekeste is in Ethiopia, doing ministry with refugees. Bruce Vandersanden will be leading a mission team to Haiti later this year. And over the last few years, we have developed a working relationship with our Muslim brothers and sisters at the Islamic Center of Cedar Rapids, working together to make a difference for the guests and clients of Waypoint, Safe Place, and Mission of Hope, and reaching out into the community through Operation Turkey Sandwich in November. In partnership with HACAP, we helped provide supplementary food to over 130 kids at Grantwood Nursing Elementary Schools. Vacation Bible School in August and Trunk or Treat in October ministered to the youngest members of our community, providing them not only with treats, but we also gave them supper that night. No charge. Our team of late communion visitors ensures that our eldest members in care centers or shut-in at home can actively participate in the life of this congregation. We're in the midst of training a new crop of Stephen ministers to expand our support for persons in crisis. And in March, we will once again welcome homeless families with children into our church home as part of Family Promise, providing safe shelter and nourishing meals as a hand up families striving to attain sustainable independence. We are clearly a congregation marked by vitality and an enthusiasm for reaching out to all people. Yes, we face challenges, many of which are financial, let's be honest. How do we grow our Synod benevolence giving from 2.5% to 5% and then 10%? How do we finance urgently needed building repairs and renovations? How do we grow our endowment to $1 million so that we can continue to finance the ministries of this congregation? And then there are the challenges that come with increasing diversity, differing perspectives, different expectations, differing opinions. Inevitably, someone will annoy, frustrate, offend, or hurt someone else. Inevitably, at some point, I will annoy, frustrate, offend, or hurt one of you. Never intentionally, never with malice aforethought, but just simply because we are all human, simultaneously saints and sinners, always in process, never complete, never perfect. The commandment to love one another as Christ loves us grounds our mission, our desire to be inclusive, and empowers us to embrace and celebrate diversity. The commandment to love one another as Christ loves us is the foundation for how we respond to all the challenges that face us. Christ gives this commandment to his disciples at the Last Supper, just hours before he is arrested on the night before he is crucified. In our gospel lesson this morning, we hear Jesus repeat that commandment and expand on it. God loves the world so much that God sent God's Son into the world not to judge and condemn it, but to save it by healing what is broken, by restoring all creation to well-being and wholeness. Grounded in God's love, Christ shares our life, showing us how to walk through death into newness of life. Christ claims and names us as his dearly beloved friends. Christ chooses us and appoints us to do God's work of speaking good news to eunuchs and foreigners, of gathering in the outcast, of drawing those left on the margins of society into the center. Grounded in Christ's everlasting, steadfast love, we can both imagine a community where no one is left out, and we can make it happen. Please pray with me. Grant, O God, that your holy and life-giving Spirit may move every human heart, that the barriers dividing us may crumble, suspicions disappear, and hatred cease, and that with our divisions healed, we might live in justice and peace through your Son, Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. I invite you to stand as you are.